This is some kind of adaptable tripod thing. It's very nice. It's not really a tripod. It's this like erector set thing. You just around stuff. I'm not really sure of the brand. So I don't have my usual truck today. I have my four-wheel drive because I use it 3 times a year. But I'm telling you, for those 3 days, nothing else really works. And today is one of those days. It just keeps coming down, you know? Really thick. You guys cool? You guys alright? You good? Okay, you're good. Alright, there was like a SUV off the side of the road. You never really know what's going on with those. Anyway, so I'm not using my regular truck. All the power's out over here. Here's a traffic light, completely off. Some neighbors have power. Neighbors think that it's not a major problem. They have power because they have generators. And for some reason, they don't want to tell their other neighbors that they have a generator, so they just tell them that they have power. Okay, so the power's out all over here. I don't know how much I mean, I've gone through these a few times. Life goes on. You know, I was without an area of power after a hurricane that was out for 5 days. People manage. We are resilient. We embrace. I think we embrace being neighbors with each other. You know, it's like that's when people start being neighbors again. It's when you need each other. You know, most of the time, 361 days a year, you don't really need your neighbors that much. Maybe you love them for companionship, they're your friends and all that stuff, but you can function pretty well on your own. All right, that leads me to this hut sled and snow wagon. I did a Kickstarter on it. It just has not really taken off, and I'm okay with that because other Kickstarters I've done have been good. This one has not really hit, and I was surprised it didn't hit because I thought it was a terrific product. So I'll describe the product. It's yet another in our line of folding boats, although this one is made for the winter because some of our users of the folding boats were using them as winter, and they weren't really made for that. You know, hardware was coming off, and it wasn't really built for winter weather. The backpack barge is built for water. Okay, it's, oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy, I gotta focus on driving. All right, we're good, we're good. I've got a good 4-wheel drive. We're solid. Okay, so, built for that. It was built for, this is such beautiful, this is what I grew up with. Just hard weather, you know? And this is what it's about, is being prepared when something like this happens, because that's what it's about, living in Colorado, is things like this happen. And that's what makes it great. That's what makes it a terrific state. So, you know, you do things like, when you go out, you wear your good jacket, you bring your gloves, even if you're just running to the store, you just bring your gloves, because you don't know how long you're going to be out. That's what makes it fun. That's what I love about it. That's what I loved about Alabama after the hurricanes came. It was sometimes when you weren't so prepared that it made it a lot more fun. It's good to be prepared to a degree, but I think that you lose a lot of the funness when you're too prepared. Sorry, my phone, it's on this tripod now. The truck is shaking so much because it's a very old truck. It's built for this kind of weather. But, you know, it's funny because when you drive here, when you're from here, you just remember to keep your speed intact, in check and all that stuff. But a lot of people who aren't from here, they get on the roads and they don't really know the conditions, so you tend to follow them a little bit. Like, look, this is just a regular day. I have a terrific, powerful 4-wheel drive vehicle. That's the danger, right? So most of the year, except in the extreme situations, I drive a 2-wheel drive, rear wheel drive truck. And for me, that's what I need, because in the bad weather, I can usually get it out of anything. And I can manage it. And having less capabilities makes me a better driver in the winter. That's what people need to open themselves up to. There's nothing wrong with having a terrific 4-wheel drive, like I have this one. But it does nothing when you're trying to stop. It just helps you go. stopping is where the problems are. And you can have anti-lock brakes and you can have good tires, that all helps, but eventually, you know, the rules of physics mean something. You have the mass of the vehicle times the velocity, which is the momentum, which then has to be removed if you want to stop. Because if you want to bring your V down to zero, it has to have zero velocity. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it helps when you drive. Okay, so where were we? For Snow Wagon, I have already made a promise that even if this thing isn't funded, I'm cool with it. For the people who weren't able to get one through the Kickstarter, give me a little bit of time. I'll set them up as a secondary product on the Backpack Barge website once we get that going. And you're welcome to get them. I'll try to give you some kind of code with the Kickstarter that you'll be able to get them from our website for the same price you would have paid at the Kickstarter. Okay, I'll just honor that for those people who have backed the Kickstarter already. Okay, because I want to be fair in this. You know, it wasn't your guys' fault that the product came to market so late. That was just, you know, family conditions beyond my ability to manage them completely. Okay, and as I said, it was a blessing. It was a true blessing. Okay, all the traffic lights are out in this area. So this is like, you know, the power's out throughout this entire town as far as I know. If you have a new Heatolator fireplace, you can take the screen off, and inside there's a spot for 2D batteries. You can put the 2D batteries in there, and then the wall switch will start your Heatolator, which is usually those gas. If you have a newer gas in a newer home, that wall fireplace will heat the whole house. Also remember, you can still cook stuff on the stove. Even if your thing doesn't have a clicker, you just turn on the gas and use a cigarette lighter or a match to light it. There's that redundancy, so you don't have to have electricity for that. Your cell connections still work because those aren't, you know, those have their own. I think they have their own battery backups. I believe hydrogen fuel cells even. Those last for about 3 days, maybe longer. I think they can even run new batteries out or bring emergency generators out to them. I think you can usually rely on decent cell service. You know, the issue is if you're in an area of the country that has seen a lot of recent fast development, well, it's very easy to build new neighborhoods and put up houses, but it's something else entirely to bolster that fast development with a good redundant electrical grid. Okay, in that case, that takes a little longer, it's a little more expensive. Sometimes the contracts aren't necessarily worked out with the power. I mean, I don't know all the details, I'm not in that area, but it's difficult to bring power to people. The grid is an incredibly valuable piece of technology that's wildly more sophisticated than anybody realizes. And it's getting even more sophisticated now that they're moving this thing. So, you know, as in thefuture.com, the grid itself will be controlled by those little, the same frequencies they used to use for beepers. And they put small controls in your grid box, and they can turn on and off the power remotely. Okay, they need that because what happens at peak loading, at peak demand, the entire grid could shut down. Now, the conspiracy theorist says, "Oh, I don't want them shutting off my power remotely." Who cares? If you're actually one of these, you know, worried people, which I am, but some backup. You buy a little battery power backup thing, you make sure in the house, you try to make sure you have spare parts for your truck, you know, maybe you keep your tank full, but you know how to live in this environment. You have done it your entire life. We know how to do it. We've done it. This is not complicated for us. We can survive conditions that, you know, I would say a lot of people in the world maybe would have a harder time with, you know, not necessarily somebody like developing in really, really bad conditions, but when you're living in an extreme weather area like Florida or Colorado, California, Montana, Wyoming, Iowa, Illinois, New York, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, South Carolina, North Carolina, Kansas, Nebraska, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, Washington, Oregon, North Dakota, South Dakota, you know, these states, Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, you know, geez, out, Tennessee, Alabama, they say New Mexico, Texas, Alaska, Hawaii. Those are the, Texas, Alaska, Hawaii are their own countries. I think they want to be part of the bigger country because you guys are so freaking cool. Come on, let's be 50 states again, everybody. Let's do it. Come on, just like the old days. Just like when we can be 50 states again. Come on. It's going to be awesome being 50 states again. That's what we got to do. We got to be 50 states all over again. Now let's bring in some new guys and we can make them feel like they're not welcome. Fair? All right, so we'll bring in Puerto Rico will be 51, and then some combination of Guam, North American Samoa, Tinian, and Saipan, Marshall Islands, not Palau. I think they're under economic compact. But if they want to come in as like one state, or maybe like two states for the South Pacific, so we'll be at 52 states or 53 states even. Why not? These are Americans. They're working hard for the country. It's time. This is their country. Okay, just as much as it's our country, it's theirs. They worked for it, they die for it. It's their country. The American Samoans, this is their country. They fucking own it. It's theirs, just like it's my country and your country. They have to be allowed to everything we have because it's their country. Okay, that aside, and this was something deeply passionate to my uncle. Okay, he used to tell me about this a lot. He was in Air Force. He was in the Air Force, and he died, I think, as the oldest active member of his Air Force Reserve. His name was Seymour Wofsy. Boy, was he was just such a well-organized person. My dad just looked up to him so much. The thing he used to tell me a lot was he'd spend time around the South Pacific, and he would just, I mean, he has photos of him on these remote military islands and stuff, and it's just, he just wanted to enjoy the place. But he says this is just an area of the world that Americans don't think about. And, you know, he always tried to instill in me a love for the South Pacific. Culture, just history. And I think I owe so much of my appreciation for studying these places. And I hope to go someday if I can make some money. I would love to go to Saipan. I'd love to go to American Samoa. Dear God, I feel like half my soul is there. All the pictures. I mean, I literally wander around some of these places on Google Maps, just looking down all the streets. Anyway, he taught me a lot of the South Pacific. So these countries, these places need to be states. We should be good on that. And we need to be 50 states again, or possibly 53 states. And so that all the original 50 can get on, we can pretend to be, oh, the lights are back on the side of Golden. Hey, look at that. Maybe the lights are back on everywhere. I don't know. It's hard to know. We can pretend to act like we don't really like them. So we can pretend like, oh, American Samoa, they're not one of us original 50 states. They're like the new ones. And American Samoans, you can pretend to be upset, but trust me, we'd love if you would become one of our states. I think that would be awesome. I think most Americans agree. Okay. Ditto with Puerto Rico. I mean, you guys have so much claim, you know? Anyway, it's just anyway. All right, and look at Puerto Rico. Because they weren't a state, I think that probably hindered their recovery a lot. I mean, I know it helped that they were associated with the United States of America, maybe, but maybe even not. I don't know all the details. I don't know much about politics. I'm sure that a state would probably have better port arrangements than a Commonwealth, but I don't know for sure because maybe you can explain. I don't know. I don't know much about politics. It's not my area. Okay, I would like to learn more. It's hard for me to remember all this stuff, you know? It's hard to remember all that. I know larger trends of history, but I don't remember exact dates and things. I have to look them up. Don't have really good memory on that stuff. All right. So, the snow wagon Kickstarter didn't really take off too well, and I'm thinking that was because I may have brought the Kickstarter a little bit late, perhaps, because of my family delays. So again, I'll try to honor that, but it sure would be great if this Hut Sled and Snow Wagon Kickstarter could work, because I think they're terrific products for preparedness. So when you're out in a situation like what we have here, now it looks like the lights are off over here. I guess no, the lights are off over here. That intersection was run by an emergency generator. Okay, no, the lights are still off all over the place. They're definitely off. Okay. If you see some things working, it's because there's a generator, not because the grid doesn't usually work like that. It doesn't, I mean, sometimes I guess there's weird things about the grid, but generally if one area is out, the whole area is out. And if you see things working, it's because somebody has a generator. Now, not in all cases. This is what's really scary. When we were in Alabama, I remember there was an older house that their power was out for like 10 days. And yet next door to them, we had the same grid connections. Our power was out only for 5 days. Okay? And I think because sometimes when they put up houses, like they'll if it's next to a rail access, those might be some of the original houses, may run on older wiring. I don't really know all the details about it, but that can happen. Anyway, yeah, the lights are out over here too. That intersection just must have had a generator. Okay, probably because they considered it an important generator. I don't know. Oh, maybe because it was near a fire station. That could have been. Oh, I know why. Because it was near the county buildings. That's why. It probably is an emergency generator because it's near the county buildings. Okay. All right, we're good. So let's see. I'm going to let this truck pass. And let's see here. I'm going to let that truck pass. Okay. I'm going to go. 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 Sometimes when you're in an intersection and everything's kind of fucked up, you have to put a little gas in it, just because it kind of makes the other drivers feel a little more confident. People get really scared when they're in an intersection, like a major intersection, and there's no lights. They get really worried. They can't emotionally handle that. And I understand why. Because it's unnerving, you don't want to get hit. But sometimes if you give a little bit of gusto, it kind of reassures people. It's okay. You've been through this before. The newcomers haven't. It's hard for them to you know, people get scared. Younger kids and maybe older people who aren't necessarily from that area. Like when I was down south, I was a newcomer to hurricane culture. You know, it's like a little unnerved. And my neighbor's kind of like, oh, don't worry, is this what you do? You tape things up, you know, there's something that can break, you try to limit the glass breakage. Same thing with hurricanes. Like, you know, look, you can manage them, but suck. Well, I was going to say tornadoes. You can't. Tornado is like, that is a different level. That is a different level. My family was in a tornado in Alabama, one of the worst ones there ever. And luckily it avoided the house, but I mean, I saw the aftermath there, and I went back to pick everybody up, and it was just outrageous. Oh, this light works. Oh, because it's near a county building is why. Yep, it's near the county sand building. Boy, I tell you, this four-wheel drive is outstanding. This thing is unreal. I have a 1997 Isuzu Rodeo. And when there's no snow on the ground, it's like, you feel like the thing is about to just break. But man, with snow, holy smokes, it is like a different vehicle. This is why it feels like that, because it's not made for that. It's made for this. Wow, this, if I was in my truck right now, I would be like struggling. This thing just, and it's not like it's not, I mean, we've also had a Honda Pilot, which was a very good vehicle, but that all-wheel drive system is a little different. It does very well in the snow, But this vehicle makes it seem like, tells you it prefers to be in the snow. That's all I can describe it as. Okay. Just wants to keep going. This is amazing. God, I'm glad I picked this vehicle. Okay. So that's where we are with the hut sled and the snow wagon. And yeah, power's out everywhere. Power's out at the hotel too. There's no power here. I'm literally probably about 10 miles from my house, and there's no power here either. Just need to find a place to park. Oh, there's a car. Okay, see, the hotels are full because people who are driving saw the storm coming, like people that may have been driving to the coast or something, and they left. They just figured they'd stop in a hotel. Although, let me tell you, this is minor compared to a storm I was once in Nebraska. Holy smokes, that thing was a world apart. That was like, and the people there, you talk to people in western Nebraska that have been through these storms, and they're like, it's like nothing to them. And I know North Dakota and places like that, you know, we have in Colorado, we're lucky. We don't get those kind of winds usually, although I shouldn't, who knows what's going to happen in the next thing, but usually, what I saw there was outrageous. I remember seeing a FedEx truck right in front of it, and the wind was lifting the side of the truck off the ground. And it was just complete whiteout conditions. You have no idea where the road is. You just pull over, you stop, and you hope you have enough gas in your tank to last you 4 hours till they can get the place plowed, or 8 hours, however long it takes. It's just one of those things. You just sit there idling like, I hope nothing happens. It's fun, man. It's a lot of fun. I love it. I love extreme weather. I just love it. The more extreme, the more fun it is. I mean, it's scary, but adventure never feels good while